I'm Julia Turshen. I am a cookbook author. I'm the founder of Equity at the Table, and welcome to Cook With Us with Well+Good. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe. And today I'm gonna make a smoky carrot soup. It gets its smokiness from pimentón, which is smoked Spanish paprika, a really delicious ingredient. And the other secret ingredient is carrot juice. I'm gonna use that in addition to some stock in the soup. This is chicken stock, but you could also use vegetable stock, whatever you prefer. And the carrot juice is just gonna give so much extra flavor. So to get started, I'm gonna chop up some onions and carrots and get them going in a pot with some oil and that delicious pimentón. I'm gonna start off by peeling and chopping my vegetables. And for the recipe, I called for 1 medium onion, but I had all these small onions at home, so I'm just gonna use 2 small ones. It's a good reminder to just use whatever you have. If you have a red onion, use that. A bunch of shallots, really doesn't matter. So I'm gonna take the top and bottom off of each onion so they sit flat on my board. And then my favorite way is just to cut them in half. And then it's really easy to peel off the outside layer. So I'm gonna peel my carrots. I like to leave them flat on the board so you get that support of the board and you're not like over here peeling them. A whole head of garlic. My favorite way to get into this, to break it open and get those cloves, is I just put it on my cutting board, I take the heel of my hand, and I put like all my body weight on top. It's great for freeing your garlic cloves. It's also a nice little kind of like stress reliever to really just crush something. So there we go. And then they just come apart. This soup is gonna be pureed, so it doesn't matter how you chop anything, it's all gonna get blended together anyway. You just want it in small pieces so it cooks quickly. So like for these onions, I'm just gonna do a few cuts across here and then like that. And lastly, the carrots. So what I like to do if I have a bunch like this to cut up, I kind of go big end to small end to make it kind of uniform. And then I just go through, chop them. So all these beautiful chopped vegetables, I'm gonna put a flame under my pot. I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna start high because my stove takes like a minute to heat up. But once it gets really nice and hot, I'll turn it down so nothing burns. I'm gonna put in a little olive oil. I am gonna season the onion and carrot and garlic with a really good amount of salt. Be generous because this is gonna help to season the entire soup. And I think a really important thing when you're cooking is to season things at every stage of cooking. So these vegetables are like still raw. I just put them in the pot, but I'm gonna start seasoning them now. When I add the liquid later, we're gonna taste it, season it again. And that way you don't just get like a layer of salt on top of your food at the end. You get that deep flavor of like fully seasoned food that's been, you know, flavored at every single layer of cooking. So a little pepper. And this is pimentón. This is that smoked Spanish paprika. This is a lot of it because I love it. I use it in so many dishes. The smokiness gives it like almost like a meaty flavor without any meat. It's a really wonderful ingredient if you're cooking for anyone who's vegan because it gives that kind of like smoky meatiness without using any animal product. So I'm gonna add like a full tablespoon, so a good amount. And adding it now lets it kind of get into that sort of hot olive oil, lets it season the onion and garlic. That little bit of paprika, that 1 spoonful, my whole kitchen smells like an amazing like barbecue restaurant right now. It is so fragrant. It's such a wonderful ingredient. So I'm gonna go ahead and add, these are equal parts chicken stock and carrot juice. I'm gonna turn the heat back up so it's all the way high, and I'm gonna bring this to a boil. And while it's coming to a boil, I'm just taking my wooden spoon and I'm scraping the bottom of the pot because there might be like a little bit of onion or garlic stuck on the bottom, a little bit of that paprika. I just wanna lift up all the flavor from the bottom of the pot and put it right into the liquid, so that way it gets into the soup. I'm just tasting the broth for seasoning. It's already so good, and it's like hasn't even like cooked much yet. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt. It tastes a little bit flat to me. That's how I know I need more salt. It tastes like something where the flavor is like almost there, but not quite all the way there. So I kind of think of salt as like the volume knob, like on the radio. And sometimes you just wanna turn up the volume a little bit. So that's when I add more salt. So just trust your instincts here. And the exact amount depends also on how salty your stock is. So if you're using chicken or vegetable broth that maybe you bought from the store, some of them tend to be like really salty. So that's why it's really good to taste as you go and not depend on like exactly what it says in a recipe. Really just trust your taste buds. Yeah, that's much better. I'm gonna bring this to a boil, which will take probably a few minutes, and then I'll turn it down and let it simmer just until the carrots are soft, which means they're cooked through and they're easy to puree, and we're gonna get like a beautiful soup. Okay, so we have been simmering for like 15 minutes or so. I'm just gonna scoop out a carrot. I have a little paring knife here, and it slips in really easily, so that's how I know we're ready to blend. So I'm gonna turn off the heat. And to puree the soup, you can use, if you have a regular blender, you can use one of those by all means. If you do that, be really, really careful when you're blending something hot. The way I do it is I put in like a little bit at a time. I don't fill the blender up more than like halfway, and then I'll take a kitchen towel and put it on top. And then I start the blender really low and then slowly build it up. And I also like to lift off the top a little bit to let out some steam. Because when you blend a really hot liquid, like this hot soup, that steam can build up in your blender and you don't want that going everywhere and hurting you. So blend carefully. You can also let the soup cool down completely and then blend it if you want to do that. Or you can use one of my favorite tools, which is an immersion blender. And I'm gonna hold one handle with my kitchen towel. And the important thing with this is to submerge this whole blade under the liquid. If you have it kind of on the top, then things are gonna go everywhere. But if it's under the liquid, you'll be totally fine. So the soup is pureed. I did manage to splash a little bit over here, but that's just fine. I am gonna taste it for seasoning before I serve it. So it's super, super hot. It's so good. It tastes like a really intense carrot, and that is thanks to that carrot juice. It's just like one of the quickest tricks to getting so much flavor into the soup, and just that extra kind of carrotiness. I don't know if that's a word, but I'll use it. And the pimentón is so smoky. It's such a nice balance of flavors. So you'll see the final texture of the soup is not really thick, and that's on purpose because I really like a sort of kind of like more of like a brothy kind of soup. I'm gonna put a little sour cream on, just like a nice big spoonful. You could also do something else kind of creamy, like yogurt or something like that. It tastes kind of like fall. Like it's such a wonderful kind of homey flavor. I can't wait to eat the rest of that. It's so delicious. The entire recipe is in the description below, and don't forget to subscribe.